Bus drivers meet lots of people every week. Some seem happy, while others look sad. Some seem like they're in a hurry, and some seem like they're not paying attention. But among all these people, bus drivers have a special group they call their regulars. These are the people who ride the bus every day to go to work or school. Tim Watson is a bus driver who really pays attention to the people who ride his bus. He's been driving for a long time, and he's become friends with some of his regular passengers. Tim knows where they usually get off and even knows when they usually ride his bus. When they come on or off, they often exchange friendly words like "take care" or "have a good day." And they wish Tim a safe trip too. This routine continued every day until one morning when something unusual happened. On that particular day, Tim was driving his usual route, and everything was going smoothly. Then, at one bus stop, a man and a boy got on his bus. Tim was pretty sure these two weren't his regular passengers. The man looked like he was in his 20s and seemed distracted. They sat in the middle of the bus, and it was clear that the man was trying to calm down the upset little boy. The little boy started crying, which wasn't uncommon for Tim to see. Kids sometimes get upset on the bus, throwing tantrums. But on this day, Tim felt that the little boy's crying was different from the usual tantrums he'd seen before. There was evident fear in his eyes. That's not how the typical child looks when getting on the bus with a family member, even if they are in the middle of a temper tantrum. Try as he might, Tim couldn't resist but look from time to time at the new passengers. The little boy continued to cry despite the man's bidding. It seemed like the man was urging the little boy to sleep or keep quiet. It was unusual for Tim to check on his passengers in his rearview mirror. However, there was something in his gut that was forcing him to take notice. There was a strange feeling, but he just couldn't figure it out at once. But when he looked again, something caught his eye. Looking from his rearview mirror, Tim finally realized where his gut feeling was coming from. He remembered the news that he had read that morning about missing persons. According to the newspaper, a 3-year-old boy had been reported missing from a library in San Francisco. Tim tried to recall the other details he had read. A suspicion was fast boiling in his mind. Tim, who was a father of 2, believed that his gut was telling him something. The little boy and his bus could possibly be the one the police were looking for. However, he knew he could be wrong as well. So he tried to remember the other valuable information stated on the missing persons report. Lucky for him, his mind cooperated. The missing 3-year-old boy was wearing a blue shirt, plaid shorts, and red Crocs on his feet. At that moment, Tim imagined how the young boy's parents felt not knowing where their son was. He started thinking about his children at home and how he'd feel if one of them went missing. Remembering the details from the newspaper, Tim thought of a way on how he could take a good look at the boys that he could be sure. He couldn't just stop the bus and confront the man. He had other passengers to consider as well. Whether the boy was the missing boy or not, Tim didn't want to alert the man that he was suspicious. If it indeed was a kidnapping incident, he didn't want to scare the man off. He continued with his normal driving pace and resisted the urge to look at his rearview mirror. The man's eyes had become alert at that time, and it seemed to him that he looked impatient to get off the bus. At any moment, the man could change his mind and get off the bus with the boy. It seemed that no passengers had noticed. They were busy minding their own business. Tim knew he was running out of time. He looked at the road and tried to calm his thoughts. Then, just like an answer from above, he figured out exactly what he should do to make things look as casual as possible. Tim announced to the people on the bus that one of the passengers who had ridden the bus earlier left a green backpack. He said that before they left to go to the next stop, he needed to check the bus first. Tim even made a pretense that the rider who had left the backpack was adamant about knowing whether it was still on the bus or not. Then, trying to appear as casual as possible, he stood up and began his search. Tim politely asked all riders to check under their seats. When he got to the position where the man and the little boy were sitting, he was able to get a good look at the boy. As expected, the boy who had grown tired of crying was wearing a blue shirt, plaid shorts, and red Crocs, just like the missing boy on the news. At this point, Tim was sure it was that little boy that he'd heard about. After the search, Tim casually got back on his seat and devised the next step he should take. He knew that it would not be a good idea to try and deal with the situation on his own, so he came up with a better plan. The man and the boy were seated in the middle of the bus, and the engine was loud enough to make soft sounds inaudible. Moreover, they were looking at the window. The boy, evidently tired of his tantrums, with trembling hands, Tim reached his phone and made the call. Tim started driving, and at the same time, he discreetly called the police. He told them that there was a boy in his bus that fit the description of the missing boy. The police on the other line firmly instructed Tim on what to do. He listened intently on the plan, although he was feeling quite nervous that something might go wrong. The determination to save the boy made him fearless. The police told Tim to continue driving to his next stop as planned. Things were put into motion, and they assured Tim that police officers would be waiting. Tim once again checked to see if the suspected kidnapper had noticed anything unusual, but it seemed he hadn't. The missing boy was getting closer to being rescued. As Tim reached the next bus stop, 2 police officers quickly positioned themselves at the back of the bus, while several others stood at the front. They began allowing the passengers to exit one by one. Some passengers appeared surprised by the presence of the police officers, but didn't ask any questions. All eyes were on the bus, waiting for the man and the boy. When the man and the boy finally got off the bus, the police officers gently separated the boy from the man and promptly arrested the suspect. The alleged kidnapper made feeble attempts to resist, but was unsuccessful. The authorities were determined to save the boy, and the 3-year-old seemed to understand that he was being rescued. He held the hand of one of the officers, relief evident on his innocent face. Afterward, both of them were brought to the police station for further investigation. It turned out that the parents had already been informed about this potential lead. Once the police returned to the station, they made the call to the parents. The parents were incredibly relieved and hurried to reunite with their son. Tim couldn't help but imagine the immense happiness they would feel upon learning that their child was safe and sound. Undoubtedly, the parents of the missing boy and the police officers were profoundly grateful and impressed by Tim's actions. Without his sharp memory, strong instincts, and vigilance, it's hard to imagine where the innocent boy might have ended up. The story was worth sharing, and before Tim realized, he was an instant celebrity. When he was interviewed by the local news stations, the courageous driver just said, "I feel I just did what any father would do." If Tim didn't listen to his instincts, there's a high chance that they might never have found the boy. Tim wants everyone to know one important thing. When you have a strong feeling in your gut, it's essential to follow it. Ignoring your instincts could lead to regrets later on.